right, and with me now, Center for Security Policy President, my friend, Frank Gaffney. All right, Frank, this legislation, a breakthrough, but is it enough?
It is a breakthrough, Judge. As you've heard Congressman Frank say, thanks in no small measure to your efforts, we've seen an awareness building in the Congress that has gotten us to this point in the House. I want to echo what the Congressman said about the necessity of everyone getting in touch with members of the Senate. There is no reason why we should have more time pass before these steps are taken, whether it's the national planning scenario or, more importantly, the plan itself for hardening our grid. We're on borrowed time, and you know, the good news, we've seen some movement in the Congress. The bad news is this week, the 2nd of December, a group called Silence issued a report that indicated, not only as we were talking about a couple of weeks ago when Admiral Mike Rogers, the director of the National Security Agency, acknowledged to Congress that the Chinese are inside the control systems of our electric grid through cyber techniques. We now know from Silence that the Iranians have been as well. And as you just heard the congressman say, the Iranians have a threat doctrine of a world without America, and they seem to be interested not just in electromagnetic pulse as an attack option, but also cyber warfare. So we're on borrowed time here, and even if none of those things happen, I was at a conference this week with one of the commissioners of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and he actually said, Judge, pray for a mild winter, because if we don't have one, there may be big-time blackouts in New England because of a lack of natural gas, amazingly enough, in that market. And we're seeing the Environmental Protection Agency demand that we take coal-fired plants that are critical to providing surge load capacity taken offline because of environmental concerns. So for all these reasons, we've got to get our act together on this urgently.
Well, clearly, when Mike Rogers talked about the fact that the Chinese and one or two other countries are using techniques to get inside the wire of our grid control systems, not acting would be an enormous disaster for American people. And in fact, I must tell you, Frank, Fox has reported Mary Landrieu lost in Louisiana. I think part of her loss, and I sat in a hearing in Washington, D.C. and watched her, support the local power companies. Oh, everything's okay, and shame on you for even talking about it. I think that's part of the reason she lost.
Well, I think it should be. If it weren't, it should be. And I hope this is a marker with people like Lisa Murkowski, who will be the chairman of that Energy Committee in the next Congress. And she was at that hearing, as you know. She was the ranking Republican, and she went along with this idea that the only thing that we really need to be concerned about is keeping the American people from knowing about this vulnerability. That's wrong. I hope every one of those members of Congress, senators most especially, are on notice now. They have to get this fixed, and we need it done now, not 6 months from now, not a year and a half from now.
Right. And finally, if it does not pass in the lame duck session, and you talk about hoping for a mild winter, how quickly do you think it'll happen? Mike McCall's going to be the head of Homeland Security. Hopefully, they're going to be running with this one. It won't be out of energy. Is that correct?
Well, this whole legislative initiative has circumvented the energy committees in the House and Senate because, frankly, they've been, I'm afraid, under the thumb of the electric utilities, and the utilities don't want this done.
They get money. Frank, let's talk straight.
They do. But here's the really big development. There is a senator by the name of Ron Johnson from Wisconsin who will be the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate, Michael McCall's counterpart, and he's indicated as recently as Friday at this conference that he is very, very intent on getting this bill handled through the Senate early next year, and we ought to support him in doing that if we can't get it done in this lame duck session, which is really the priority.
All right, Frank Gaffney, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Judge, for all your help.
All right.